Designer's Cafe.
When I've started a new drawing, one of the considerations is I have to set the drawing units for the object that I'm going to draw. In model space, I'm always drawing at full size, and as far as AutoCAD is concerned, a measurement unit is just a unit. How it displays those units for us is our choice. They can be displayed as inches or decimal inches or feet or meters or miles or light years. It's our choice, but we have to make that setting. To open my Units dialog box, I'm going to go to the Application menu, to Drawing Utilities, and click on Units. So here I can set my units as far as length and angle and the scale for any objects that might be inserted into my drawing. Looking first at length, I have some choices. Decimal would work well for working in metric. Architectural is feet and inches for working with architectural drawings. Engineering will work well with decimal inches or decimal feet. Fractional would allow me to work well with fractional inches, and scientific will work in scientific notation. Below choosing the type, I can set the precision as to how many decimal places or how I want the fractions to be displayed and to what is the smallest unit. I also can change the type of angle that's displayed depending on the type of drawing that I'm doing, whether it's engineering or mapping or survey units. This is where I can control also the precision there. So the default is decimal with 4 decimal places. So if I go to my drawing and I draw a line, and then I look at the properties of this line using my quick properties, I can see that this is 21 and I have 4 decimal places as measuring its length. So let's change units and see how it's displayed. So this time, instead of decimal, I'm going to go to fractional, and I'll say that the precision is going to be 1/16 of an inch. Now in looking at this line, I can see that it's 21 and 3/16. Now let's see how this line would measure if we were using architectural units. So I'm going to just type units from the command line. I'm going to change to architectural with a precision of 1/16 of an inch as the smallest increment. Now you can see that this line displays as 1 foot 9 and 3/16 inches. When I'm drawing objects in AutoCAD, I'm always drawing them to their actual size, and I'm always drawing them in model space. The amount of area that I have available in model space is almost unlimited. So one of the first things I need to define when I'm starting a new drawing is the limits, or the amount of model space that I want to be using when I'm making my drawing. So for example, I could be drawing a small mechanical part that would only require a small amount of model space. Or I could be drawing something large, like the design of a house that would require hundreds of square feet of drawing space. So let's look at the process of setting the limits. I'm going to start a new drawing. I'll start from the default AutoCAD template. To define the limits, I'm going to type it from the keyboard and hit enter. If you look down on the command line, it says specify the lower left corner, and in the angle brackets we see the default setting is 0, 0. If you look in the lower left corner of your drawing area, you see the WCS icon showing X and Y. In its default position, the WCS icon shows the origin or 0, 0 point of our X and Y coordinate system. Generally, when I'm setting the limits, I always set the lower left corner to 0, 0, so I'll hit enter to accept the defaults. Next, I need to specify the upper right corner of my limit area, giving its x and y coordinate entry. You can see in the angle brackets that the default is currently at 12 on the x and 9 on the y-axis. If I wanted to define my limits as a regular size sheet of paper so I could see what I was drawing in relation to that, I could set it to 11 on the x, comma 8.5 on the y, and hit enter. I've now reset my limits. So let's see how my limits influences the way that my drawing is displayed in the drawing window. I'm going to start by doing a zoom all command to zoom my drawing window to my limits. Now let's draw a rectangle in this window. Now if I want to look closely at just this rectangle, I can do a zoom extents display command. So I'll say Z from the keyboard, enter, and E for extents. And it shows me just that rectangle. If I want to get back to seeing my drawing area, I say Z for zoom, enter, and A for zoom all. That takes me back to my drawing limits. As long as nothing is drawn outside of my limit area, my zoom all command will always take me back to my limits. But you're not kept from drawing just inside the limits. Say for example right now I get a circle and I want a 11-inch diameter circle, and so I enter 11, not realizing that this is the radius rather than the diameter. I hit enter, it looks like nothing has happened, and when actually I've drawn a very large circle outside my limits. Z, enter, A, enter to zoom all, and now instead of taking my limits, it takes me to the extents because this is outside of my limits area. If I erase this too large circle, zoom all again, Z, enter, A, enter, it takes me back to my limits.